In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a graph in Excel, a graph that will be very similar to the one you have to do for your Mapler report. So I prepared some data here in this Excel sheet that we're going to use to make the graph. This data represents the measurements of 3 different groups, group 1, 2, 3, in 4 different sites. Before actually making the graph, I ordered the columns here in a gradient, hypothetical gradient, because the order of the columns on my spreadsheet will be the same as on the x-axis on the graph. So it is important to do that before you actually generate your graph. To generate the graph, it's fairly simple. Just select your data and then go to the Insert tab, go to this small icon showing graphs here, and we're going to do a graph, line graph, like this. So we can make it a bit bigger. Okay, so why a line graph? Because we're supposed to do a scatter plot. Well, on Excel and in general, a scatter plot graph is supposed to have a quantitative axis on both the x and the y. But in our experiment, we only have fully quantitative data on the y-axis. On the x-axis, we have a semi-quantitative, which is the stations that have to be ordered following a moisture gradient. So it's not fully quantitative. It's because we don't have numbers, we don't have measurements for the moisture level. So this is why we call it a semi-quantitative. The stations are ordered following a gradient. So because of that, it's easier to start with a line graph that we're going to tweak, to change into a scatter plot. To do so, it's very easy. I'm just going to select here one of the lines, this one here. So when you click once on a line, it's going to select all the data points, all the data series. If I want to format it, right click on it, and then go to Format Data Series. This is going to open a panel here. I'm just going to close a bit. Yeah. And this panel will allow me to reformat the graph. So the first thing to do is to click here on the bucket, which is going to change the appearance of the data point and the lines. So in the line section, very easy. I click on no line and they disappear. Next thing you want to do is to just change a bit the appearance of the data points that are called markers. So click on the marker tab. I'm going to open all the options here. And then the first one is going to allow you to choose what type of data points you want to put, like what type of shape. I'm going to choose a circle and make it a bit bigger, like 8. And then here you have the fill and the border of the data point, so I want no border. And for the fill, I'm going to choose a just black, like this. And that's it. Okay, you see we have now just black data points. So I'll have to do the same for the 2 other data series, the orange and the blue one, which I'm going to do now. That's it. Okay, so as you see now, all 3 series have are represented with these black dots. So we don't want to have different symbols to show the different groups, and that's not what we want. We want to see the trend here of the data. So we're going to keep the same color, or the absence of color, black, for all 3 series. Next, I will have to remove the elements on the graph that are not needed. For example, those horizontal lines should go. So I click on them, and then if the format panel is open, you can click on no line, or you can right click on the lines themselves and click on delete. Okay, so that removes them. Same thing here for the symbol key or legend that shows us the different colors for the group. There are no different colors, so we don't need that. Delete. And the graph title, that should never be there. Okay, it belongs to the caption. And this way we have a graph that's a little bit more clean and that follows more the format we want. Next, I'm going to format the axes. The axes here are very different from what we want, so I'm gonna change them. So clicking on the axis here and then right click, format axis. This is going to open options here that will allow me to change the appearance of the axis. I'm going to start here with the tick marks. The tick marks are the small divisions that are not present yet and that I will need to add. In Excel you have two types, major type and minor type. To be honest, you never know which one are going to be placed where you want. We want the tick marks to be at the same level here as the labels on the axis. So in this kind of axis, you have to choose the minor type. So I'm going to click on outside because I want my tick marks outside of the axis, and they've been added. Okay, so it's very faint. Everything is not really readable. I'm going to change the color and the line of my axis here. So I click on the bucket to have the options, and then on the line, solid line, I'm going to choose a color, black. It's a bit better, and make it a bit thicker. Okay, so change the width to 1.25 point, and you see like the line is easier to see now. I also can change the size of the text here in the label, in the axis. So I just click on the axis itself, go to home, change the size of the text, like any text. 12 points is a bit better. I can put it black here. Yeah, that's a bit better. Okay. Now I'm going to change the y-axis. So clicking on it will open the option here in the format panel. And you can see because the y-axis is a fully quantitative axis, you have a different set of options. One of them is what they call bounds, which shows the minimum and the maximum values on the axis. So in this case, the default values that were here are completely good because our data are well spread over the axis. If, for example, I put 50 here, you will see that there's way too much empty space here, so it's not good. Okay, the 12 here as a maximum value is good. Also, you will want to choose what they call units that actually correspond to these numbers here, the labels on the y-axis. So here they say that they are every 2 units. Okay, so the rule says that we want between 3 to 5 of these labels on the axis. Here we have 7, so it's too many. So I'm going to change this number to 3. And now we see that we have 0, 3, 6, 9, 12. So we have 5 labels on the axis, which is good. The next step will be to add tick marks. So on this particular axis, for any reason, it's the major one that is going to show where we want. And I'm going to place them outside, always outside of the graph. So there we go. Okay, you can see them here. I'm going to change the width of the line. So I go on the bucket, increase here the width to 1.25, and I'm going to change the size of the text here to 12, and that's it. Okay, so it's a little bit more readable, and we have our axis properly formatted with the tick marks and the number of labels on each of them. Next, I will have to add a few things on my graph. The first one will be titles or labels here on the axis. So to do so, I need to click on the graph first, and then click on chart design, and then go to add chart element. And what we want here are axis titles on the primary horizontal. So it will be this axis here. I'm going to type, well, sites, because it's the name of the sites. So I just type this and I select the text, go to home, change the size, go to 16, black. It's a bit more readable this way. I do the same thing here on the y-axis, sorry. So click on the graph, chart design, add axis title on the vertical axis, and this is the number of days of rain, because this is what we measured in this example. Select the text, go to 16, black, and that's it. Okay, we have a properly formatted axis now. Our graph is almost done. We just have to do a bit of cleanup, and in particular, this data point here, site 2, the value 5 was observed by 2 groups, okay? So it means that this data point corresponds to the observations of 2 groups, 2 data points overlapping. So we have to indicate this, and the best way to do that is just to put a different symbol here. So I will start with actually deleting one of the 2 points on the graph, and it's going to be cleaner. And then after that, I will select this data point. So when you click the first time, you select all 4 points. If you click a second time, you will only select this data point that we have to change. Then I go to the panel, the format panel, go to the marker tab, marker options, and then here, this is where I choose the shape of my data point. So I'm going to choose a triangle like this, just make it a bit bigger, and that's it. Okay, so now we have a triangle here, and I just have to indicate in the caption that the triangle corresponds to 2 data points that overlap. And this way, the reader will know that 2 groups observed the value 5, whereas only 1 group observed the value 3. This is important to know. So the graph itself is done, and you will just need to add below the graph a text box. That's the caption. So look in the appendix on Brightspace. It tells you exactly what's supposed to be in the caption. It starts by graph 1, then a title, etc., etc. So read everything you need to put in the caption, and yeah, that's it. You will have a very nice graph. One thing that I forgot to show you in the previous video was how to remove the frame that's present around the graph. So there should be no frame around the graph. To remove it, it's very simple. Just click on the graph, right click, choose Format Chart Area, go to the Format panel, and in the border here, just click No Line. This is going to remove the line, and we're done. So it's very simple, but very important.